President Trump is in Paris right now. He will participate in a ceremony to commemorate the centennial of the end of World War I. Meanwhile, there is a battle, if not a war, continuing over his immigration policy, and specifically tonight, the matter of migrants claiming they're coming to this country to avoid persecution. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts is in the City of Lights tonight. Good evening, John.
Brett, good morning to you from Paris. Well, it certainly is a legal battle with a lawsuit being filed against the president just this afternoon. But President Trump says he is determined to do whatever he can to stem the tide of illegal immigration into the United States.
Departing the White House this morning, President Trump threw more fuel on the immigration fire, saying he had started the process to deny asylum claims made by illegal immigrants.
I just signed the proclamation on asylum, very important. People can come in, but they have to come in through the ports of entry. And that, to me, is a very important thing.
The action drew an instant lawsuit from the ACLU, but the president got immediate backup from his acting Attorney-General, Matt Whitaker, in a statement saying, today the president has made a strong statement that enough is enough. Thanks to this decisive order from President Trump, we are continuing to provide a path to protection for those who truly need it while stopping our generosity from being abused.
I reiterate, we need Democrats' votes. They have to pass new immigration laws because they're flooding our country. We're not letting them in, but they're trying to flood our country.
President Trump will be in Paris to mark the 100th anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. While the president will have a bilateral meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron, a sit-down with Russian President Vladimir Putin has been put off until later this month.
Well, I'll meet with Putin at the G20. I don't know that we're seeing each other in Paris, but there may be a lunch for the leaders.
Fox News is told that after President Trump returns from Paris, he and his attorneys will make a decision whether to submit to an interview with special counsel Robert Mueller.
Right now, I'm thinking about the world. I'm not thinking about sit-downs or not sit-downs.
The president's legal team has prepared written answers to several questions about the Russia collusion issue, but President Trump hasn't yet decided whether he'll give them to Mueller.
There was no collusion. It's a whole hoax.
On his way to Paris aboard Air Force One, the president weighed in on congressional efforts to protect the Mueller investigation with legislation, taking aim at Arizona Republican Jeff Flake, tweeting, "Jeff Flake doesn't want to protect the non-Senate confirmed special counsel. He wants to protect his future after being unelectable in Arizona for the crime of doing a terrible job." And President Trump also railed against the decision by an Obama-appointed district judge in Montana to block his plans to build the Keystone XL pipeline.
Well, it was a political decision made by a judge. I think it's a disgrace.
But President Trump did see as good news a Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling against his plans to end the so-called DACA program. Good news because it now kicks the case to the Supreme Court, where President Trump just cemented a 5-4 conservative majority. Brett?
John, the president also reacting tonight to the French president's support for a European army. What can you tell us about that?
In a recent radio talk show, French President Emmanuel Macron said that Europe needed to do more to protect itself, which might include a true European army to protect against threats such as Russia, China, even the United States. Just before he landed, President Trump tweeted, quote, "President Macron of France has just suggested that Europe build its own military in order to protect itself from the U.S., China, and Russia. Very insulting, but perhaps Europe should first pay its fair share of NATO, which the U.S. subsidizes greatly." Nothing like starting your weekend off on a good foot, right?
Yeah. John Roberts live in Paris just past midnight. John, thanks.